Yo, what's going on, man? It is your boy, baby, JoeNoJoseph, and I'm back at it again with another one, all right? Today, man, we're checking out Sophie. What? A murder in West Cork, bro. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this, all I saw was Sophie, and it kind of got me thinking of Sophia. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that little, like, the robot that was, like, taking over the world, that everybody thought was gonna take over the world. Who was it? Somebody made it. I don't remember what it was. But she could, like, talk and, like, think for herself and do all this crazy stuff, but that's what I thought this was. But supposedly this is a murder in West Cork Netflix special. I have no idea. But I know the fellows always bring the heat, okay? Definitely make sure if you guys are not hit, bro, every Monday, 6 p.m., you bring your cheeks, bro, okay? You bring your cheeks over here to the fellows mystery channel, all right? Or they're getting waxed. No cap. No cap. Hey, no lube, none of that. Just going straight in there, no Vaseline, all right? Hey, let's go ahead and get into this video, man. Don't forget, subscribe.
Sorry I'm late, Chet. You know how it is sometimes. I got caught talking to a magician. Lost his magic, though.
What?
Yeah? What was his name?
Well, they call him Ian now. Anyways. Gosh, I do love a murder mystery.
Well, fortunately today, we have one of the most high-profile cases at the moment.
Yeah, mystery then FIFA, Altoid.
The murder of a French TV producer, Sophie Toscan du Plantier.
No way! Bro, that was hard! What the fuck? That was so hard!
Sophie Toscan du Plantier.
Gardaí have arrested two people in connection with the murder of Sophie Toscan du Plantier in West Cork. The two, a man and a woman, are being questioned at Bandon Garda station. The man was arrested this morning. The woman was detained this afternoon.
It's an obsession for every victim, everywhere in the world.
Gardaí are treating as suspicious the death of a woman whose body has been found in a remote area in County Cork.
A suspect, an arrest, a media frenzy. There's a frightening state of affairs.
Hey, was that Arnold Schwarzenegger?
An arrest, a media frenzy.
Oh, okay.
There's a frightening state of affairs that he would die in a French jail.
Oh, God. South Ireland. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I thought Ireland would have had a lot more golf courses. Okay.
Platform, Netflix.
Netflix, we're still waiting. We're still waiting for this to go off. If you need us to be doing any.
Yeah, if you want to get hold of us, we'll probably plug it in.
Do you know what, Netflix? It'd be going to be funny because you're going to watch this and you're going to think, our documentary was
It was fucking trash compared to this, bro. What are y'all doing, Netflix? Come sign the boys, dog, okay? We need at least 30 M's. At minimum, 30 M's, bro, not less. A lot more if y'all want, though.
Can we say that? Is that okay?
A bit more professional.
Okay, sorry. You'll prefer this episode.
Oh. Let me set the scene for you, Detective Freezy.
Go ahead.
23rd of December, 1996. Sophie is murdered in cold blood at a holiday house.
Not Sophie.
Near County Cork. And County Cork, of course, is a place of Ireland.
Of Ireland.
Yeah.
Or in Ireland.
In Ireland, of Ireland.
Murdering
This
homie
particular
Sophie
place
like that?
in Ireland is known for its sort of like legends and mythologies, and it's got lots of like fantasy. It's a very romantic place. Now, you think, you know, in Ireland there'd probably be a lot of Irish people, but in this particular place in West Cork, it is actually known to have a lot of international people that go there. So people from abroad, England, places in Europe, France, they come, and when they move to Ireland or they get a holiday home in Ireland, they tend to get it in West Cork. And it's become this popular place for expats to go to.
It kind of looked wild, though, because I could never actually believe that somebody wanted to move out there in that countryside, bro. After all the movies that are out, all the stuff that we see, why are people still trying to live in the middle of nowhere and then around other people? Like, if I live in the middle of nowhere, I got to be by myself. I don't want other houses a couple miles down the road, because what are they doing? You know what I mean? If I hear some noise, I'm going to go check. I'm not just going to be like, oh, there's just some shit going on over there. Like, I don't know, bro. These small towns are weird, bro. I feel like small towns are like a ploy from the government or some shit. Like, I don't know.
And that's exactly what Sophie was. She had a holiday home here in West Cork.
So when she comes to a holiday home in Cork, she likes to leave, you know, the glamorous life that she lives in Paris behind. Alice in Wonderland kind of vibes. You seen that movie?
Yeah, you know, it is a personal favorite of mine.
And since she was a TV producer, she actually wanted to make a show or film on bodily fluids. I'm talking like breast milk, blood, sperm, bile.
Oh, lovely.
I don't.
It's not something that I would make a series about,
Yeah, no, I don't
but
want
it
that.
shows that she definitely had this maybe more gothic side to her. But it's safe to say that yeah, she liked going to Ireland, to this little place in West Cork. She had a nice house. It was a very like, you know, when you see the house, there's video footage of it, and it just looks quite like creaky, old.
It looks creepy as hell.
Personally, not a holiday home for me.
Whenever they have those like retaining walls, chat by houses, does this mean that water came up here, or they had to build that so that it didn't slide down the mountain? Or does this mean that there used to be water here? What does that mean, chat? Let me know.
Old, secluded. Personally, not a holiday home for me.
Yeah.
But it's what she was into, and it sort of does match her personality quite well.
I did see it, and it looks like there was no central heating.
Sophie,
So
TV
it doesn't
producer,
slide? All right, thanks.
lived a very glamorous lifestyle in Paris because she was married to Daniel, who was very, very well connected in Paris. He knew like the prime minister over there, or the president, I think they call him over there. And yeah, just a real elite of Paris.
Yeah.
You get that vibe.
What are we talking, like New World Order vibes?
Oh, I don't know. Well, you know, there are some thoughts about it potentially being him, but we'll get a little bit into that. But yeah, she definitely had a very different life that she would live in Paris compared to the one that she went on to her holiday home in Ireland. The death. This is the 23rd of December, 1996.
Yes.
And
1996?
Sophie was found at 10 a.m. dead, just nearby her house, a little bit further down.
They were like, fuck that, we're not walking up that hill.
And she was really badly injured, to the point where her neighbor couldn't actually even identify it was her. She was found in like her nightwear, so like pajamas, things like that, which...
God, did they killed her in her pajamas,
sounds a little
bro?
bit like, you know, was she taken out of the house? Did she just have to nip outside to go do something, and then something happened? So there's lots of different things there, because the keys were actually found in the back of the door. So I don't know. There's a few theories about what happened there, but yeah, she was found with some horrendous injuries. And when the pathologist turned up, took a look at her, there were terrible lacerations. There was a lot of blunt force injuries as well, which could have suggested that, you know, she was hit over the head with a bit of concrete that was found to have a bit of blood on it nearby. There was also some blood on the gate as well. There were some thorns, like some real thorny bushes nearby, and that actually comes into play later when they start talking about the different suspects, because whoever
did somebody have thorns on him or something?
Got their hands dirty while doing this. Which is interesting because the lack of forensic evidence in this case is pretty alarming. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't a pleasant way to die, put it that way.
No.
It was violent.
They've done an autopsy, and it's revealed she's had around 50 injuries. Her face has been battered with a concrete block. Her fingers are all broken and stuff, probably because she's actually trying to defend herself.
Yeah.
She's ran through briars and then even believed to be barbed wire.
Yeah, so like briars are just like thorny branches.
Like bushes, like not nice.
Yeah.
And also they actually found some DNA at the scene, some blood. And this is the craziest bit. It's not Sophie's.
So whose is it, Chip? End the mystery right now. Whose blood is it?
They don't know. Unfortunately,
What do you mean they don't know? There's blood at the scene.
Well,
That's not Sophie's.
This happens more often than we would like. Obviously, because it's back in the day, they needed more than a teaspoon of blood to identify.
Bro, what? Wait. This was 1996. You didn't need that much blood. Okay, I'm lost. They needed a lot of blood. I thought we had all the same equipment back then. I thought it was like the 80s or 70s maybe, but what?
Whose blood it was.
A whole teaspoon of blood? Just to test it?
Unfortunately, they didn't have that, so that's why we're here to try and solve this case.
Yeah, I can't believe that, bro. The cops are involved now. Now we on some copper shit. You feel me?
Like a foot mark. Nothing's really come from that. You know, you'd like to think that maybe they'd be able to identify which boot or maybe something like that, but
or even a shoe size.
Yeah, or even even a shoe
something.
size. But unfortunately, for some reason, bit of a dead end. Yeah. Quite annoying.
The key's in the back of the door. I'll be perfectly honest with you, Chip. It gives off the suggestion that potentially, you know, the door was open and then it was closed behind her. And so, like, did she step out and then the door closed behind her? Was she dragged out and then someone shut the door? Like, I don't really understand why the keys are in the back of the door.
Well, that's what I would imagine. Like, she's maybe gone to answer the door. Maybe it's a face that she's familiar with. She's opened it. It's obviously late night. Maybe a bit confused. She's been dragged out. The keys have just been left
and
in
the door closes.
latch.
Yeah.
The door closes.
I don't know.
Maybe the murderer actually comes back to the house and closes the door, but doesn't know that the keys are in there.
What about some fingerprints then? You see what I'm saying? Or the gloves?
You mentioned the second glass of wine, wine glass. Maybe she was sharing a glass of wine with someone. She's opened the door to let him out. Boom.
What?
All gone crazy there.
I don't know. That is it is interesting. Not only that, but in her
that.
bedroom, the way that she had her bed set up was that because there was a lighthouse in the distance and it would constantly shine light. And Sophie was sort of known to really enjoy that particular view. But what a lot of people said though was that you could easily either be stalking or observing her in her bedroom just because of the way it was set up.
She had no.
There was no privacy.
Because her bed was right by the what?
So if someone was like a bit of a weird.
Oh God, dude, people were probably looking at her do everything in there. Oh God, what is? See, that's what's always so weird too. I always wondered, like in cities, like you know how you see skyscrapers and they're like right next to each other and they're all windows and shit. Like, are people creeping at the top of the skyscraper, like looking into the other ones? Like, I just don't even understand how you look into your window and you don't see into other people's houses. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. That's just that has always been wild to me. I always wondered like why they don't have like that two-way glass or whatever, you know, on the windows. But I guess that would just be too much money. Maybe I
you know, a bit of an oddball. They could definitely have been staring there.
Yeah.
Do you live in a flat? I live in a house. It is what it's technically supposed to be considered a duplex, but it was made into a single family home. So it's 2 bedrooms. What, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and it's like, so because of the fact that it was supposed to be a duplex, there's 2.5 living rooms basically, because the other half living room they made a bedroom, but that shit's not gonna be a bedroom because you have to like walk through that to get to the other 2 bedrooms, so it doesn't even make sense. Like, who would want to live in that? But anyway, yeah. So yeah.
In a total creep. The wine glasses, there was no fingerprints on those except for hers. So they didn't really have much to work off, to be fair.
Yeah, and there was also actually no sign of forced entry at the house, so she has willingly opened that door.
Yeah.
Again, maybe a familiar face through the peephole or something.
Yeah, someone she's seen before. But then again, you're out in the States here. There seems to be, you know, there hadn't been a murder here in years, like donkey's years. So it's one of those things where you probably feel safe opening the door at any time to anyone, really. Like, you're out in the States. It's a friendly community.
You're out in the sticks. You probably are just cool with opening your door. Why would anybody be out there? I'm not opening my door to nobody, dog. Nobody.
Everyone sort of knows everyone.
Tight knit.
Yeah. So it wouldn't be unusual to open the door to maybe even a stranger, you know?
This case has attracted a lot of media attention. Like you already said, this is the first murder in Cork for a very, very long time. And the police have started tracking everything that Sophie's been doing since December 20th, which was when she arrived in Cork Airport. Now, there was a reporter who was, you know, publishing stories on this, and he seemed to know quite a lot, more than people expected. His name was Ian Bailey, and he actually published a report on this.
He
called
looked
Tangled
crazy, though.
Love Life on December the 28th, which gave people the impression that he knows quite a lot for him to, you know, for that title, Tangled Love Life.
This guy, by the way, it's important to note that he didn't necessarily cover this sort of stuff very much. He was mainly into like poetry, gardening, things like that. So this was a little bit out of his realm, but he was considered to be a journalist. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you know, I guess you probably, if you were a journalist and a murder had just happened where you are,
live,
even if it's something that you're not necessarily usually do, why not? It's probably the biggest thing.
It's always. I feel like journalists just put themselves in weird positions. You know, like sometimes they're not even weird. They're not even the one like to really question, but like how they put themselves into the situation. It always makes them seem like a suspect. Like I hate that. It always makes them seem weird.
That's happened there in a long time. So a lot of people they're like, why is he writing so much about this one? But ultimately, like, regardless of what anyone says, like, it's a big thing to happen.
It is a big thing, and if you want to stop writing about gardening and
maybe wanted a break from
plants,
the gardening tips and tricks.
Yeah.
Ian Bailey actually proposed the theory that it could have been either Daniel, her husband at the time back in Paris,
Really?
or even Sophie had an ex-lover, right? And was it either one of those two? But both of them had alibis at the time, so it was
Kinda
safe to
cancelled
say it
them out.
was.
So they just guessed. They were like, "Oh, fuck it."
They had gotten a hitman to do the job. Now this seems pretty extreme.
Why would he get a hitman though?
Well, first of all, someone else can do the job. Second of all, the motive could have been was one of them going to get the money for it? Was there financial benefit to Sophie being killed? But the reason why the hitman theory just doesn't really add up is because the way that she was killed was used from like weapons.
Yeah, Tom, we checked out that video. It's actually not going to get posted because we were extremely wasted while we were reacting to it. So there's just so much talking through it. It was kind of tragic, but we did check it out on stream.
Of opportunity, meaning that there was no weapon brought there. There was really no plan here because she would just hit in the head with a concrete. Now, I'll be perfectly honest with you, mate. If you're hiring a hitman and the hitman says, yeah, I'm just going to rock up there, I'm just going to find what's around, and then I'm just going to hit her over the head with whatever object is closest to me. I'll be honest with you, mate, you have hired a pretty terrible hitman.
Well, no, because I mean, low key, then that means that he can't, they can't say he brought something in, he can't get caught with anything. He just hits him, leaves it right there. Especially if he leaves no evidence, it looks like they still trying to find them. You know what I mean? So that might have been the best plan.
You've hired one from Gumtree. Ian Bailey kind of pushed
What is a gum tree?
that theory out, and the idea that if Daniel and Sophie were to get divorced, which was rumored would be happening, she would take half of his estate.
Yeah.
Which, kind of stands up a little, but there's nothing else really holding it up at all.
Naturally, the police were on the hunt for some suspects. It was time to find the person that did this.
We are doing house-to-house visits, and we have extended questionnaires.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, one of the things that was in the crime scene were those little thorns, the briars, things like that. So it would have suggested that this person would definitely have some sort of cuts or injuries on their arm. Could that potentially lead you to the person that did this? Now, remember the reporter, Ian Bailey?
Oh, yes.
He was said to have had cuts on his hands.
Oh,
now, when he was
shit.
questioned about this, and he was asked, what's up? How come you had cuts all over your hands and things? His excuse, or it was so he claimed, is that he climbed a tree and went to cut off the top of the tree for a Christmas tree. Obviously, this is a few days before Christmas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would make sense.
I did it all the time.
What?
Wait, you just climb trees and cut it off?
No.
No. Okay. Well, according to Ian Bailey, that's exactly what he did. Not only that, but there was also a bit of a cut on the top of his, on his forehead, and he claimed that was from when he was holding he was killing a turkey, right?
Yeah.
And it nicked him in the forehead.
Cat.
As he was doing cat.
This could be complete cap. So his excuses were he's climbed the top of a tree to cut a Christmas tree.
Yeah, and he's got scratches in the branches and all that.
Okay, what in December? Why is he doing it so late into December? December 23rd.
He's doing it a couple of days before Christmas. He wanted a fresh Christmas tree.
Gotta get that stuff up onto December 12th, lad.
Yeah,
so.
he's
I'm not
wild.
gonna lie, Christmas tree goes up at the beginning of December.
Yeah.
No earlier, no later.
You don't put it up on 23rd, 24th of December.
He's left it far too late.
And I guess what? He's cooking his own turkey and he's killing his own turkeys.
I mean, I guess so.
And the turkey's gone.
Have that.
Have that.
He's leaving his mark on the world before he gets eaten on Christmas dinner.
I don't think that's how that worked.
Because first of all, I would straight blocked it.
Yeah, you're quick with it.
I would have blocked it.
Ian Bailey's not got that in him, bro.
No, of course
Show
not.
that one more time. Let me see the technique. Yeah, no, you know where you're
No
getting
problem.
nicked.
Pretend you're a turkey right now. Are you coming at me?
I've got you.
No. You're faster than a turkey.
I am faster than a turkey. You're right. Just to add to that, to be honest, Chip, is there was a forester that said, "Look, guys, you don't get those sort of wounds. You don't get those sort of injuries from a tree like that."
Oh, he knows.
So what did he get it from?
this guy knows the trees. He said, "Look, mate, that's cat."
Yeah, that's cat.
At this point, Ian Bailey is looking a little bit sus right now. The police are onto him.
Yep.
And what is interesting is the fact that when he was asked about did he know Sophie at all, he completely denied it. He said, never met her. right? But there are plenty of
capping,
other
bro.
people
He
in the
capping.
town that say he
has
has met
met
her. He has. So it was definitely some contradicting stories.
Literally
going around.
sus out to it.
Contradicting statements going around.
Suspicious.
Yeah, that made it seem like Ian Bailey had actually met her previously.
Don't be suspicious.
One of the people that claimed Ian Bailey had actually met Sophie previously was a guy called Guy Gerards. Right? Now, he said that she had told him, I'm going to go and meet this writer. And in this little town, Skull, quite a cool name for a town.
Skull.
Skull. In a town called Skull. There's not that many people there, so the chances of that being Ian Bailey were probably pretty high.
This is where things get a little bit interesting. 11th of January, sometime after the murder, the police have received a phone call by a woman called Fiona. Now, important to note, your favorite saying, that she did call up from a phone box, so not from her own phone.
My mum's called Fiona.
Really? She is a...
Do you reckon my mum was the one that called me? But she's not, to be fair, I don't think she lives in Skull, so...
Oh, I hope not.
No, I don't think it was her. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Anyway, she's seen a man at Kelfada Bridge at 3 a.m. on the day that Sophie was murdered. Pretty interesting stuff, right? And he was in a drunken state. He's waving his arms around. Anyway, she's called a second time the day afterwards from another call box as well, and then a third time on the 24th. But on the third time, she has called from a home phone in Skull, and her name was Marie Farrell.
What did you see on the night of the 25th of December?
I was driving
Why they
from
zoom up on it like that?
Skull, and I
She
saw
look like
a man
Susan Boyle.
walking along the bridge just along here. He appeared to be in a drunken state and waving his arms around.
Bang.
Okay, so the police actually tracked it, managed to be able to track it, because it wasn't from a payphone.
Once she's made it from her home phone, obviously things are
tracked
different.
it.
They've tracked it. They've gone to her home, and yeah, Marie
So it wasn't
Farrell.
Fiona then. So it
No.
wasn't my mum.
No, it
we
wasn't.
can write off my mum.
Unless your mum is
Marie
Marie
Farrell.
Farrell.
She isn't.
You do look similar.
Me and Marie, I'm not too sure I do look like Marie.
And the ages match up.
Later in January, Marie was actually in a supermarket, just getting on with her business, buying some bits and bobs, and she sees the man that she saw at 3 a.m.
Irish Susan Boyle?
Okay.
Right, and she looks up and she sees him.
She able
She
to
goes
identify
straight to
him?
the police and she says, "That's the guy that I saw at 3 a.m. on the night that Sophie was murdered."
Ooh.
And who was that man, Chip? Let me tell you.
You tell me who that man was.
That man that she pointed out
The news
was in
guy.
fact Ian Bailey. This is massive. This is huge. There is someone that can place Ian Bailey
Here we
at
go.
a certain location, which,
Here
by
we
the
go.
way, Kelfada Bridge is very close to Sophie's home at 3 a.m. Okay, so that is massive. Back then as well, technology wasn't where it is now, so witnesses were crucial. They were so important, and this was the most important witness in this case.
It's crucial. Like you said, it's like a remote, small little village. Who's going to be out at 3 a.m. just round the corner from Sophie's house, and she gets murdered?
Exactly.
It's all adding up a little bit.
You know what? It's not looking great for Ian.
It isn't looking good. It isn't looking good. Investigators even said as well when they found the body that the body had been out for some hours. So that timeline is kind of lining up, pretty well.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of a strange one. The 26th of December, which is obviously 3 days after the murder, Ian Bailey has gone round the back of Sophie's house, which is still cornered off, by the way.
Yeah.
So I'm talking tape. It's a crime scene.
But you know what they say? Killers.
Always
They like
return
to go
to
back.
scene.
They want to see it.
And he's gone back for such a weird reason. He's gone back to drop off some milk to a man called Alfie Lyon. And Alfie has not even asked for this milk. So he's just turned up and been like, "All right, Alf, got you this milk, by the way." Conveniently just had to go around the back of Sophie's house trying to get a peek. Little gander,
Trying to
trying
get
see
another look at
something.
it, whatever it might be, because it's important to note that he actually did arrive at the scene. He was actually one of the first people on the original scene. He was there early doors, but he wants to then go and revisit. It's almost like he wants to keep checking up on this crime scene that
poison milk.
Maybe he did. Who knows? But yeah, I just think that is a little bit weird. I mean, ultimately, Alfie never asked for the milk.
Very, very odd. And he's just tried to play it off as like a nice gesture, like, "Yeah, I brought you this milk." which you don't want.
Mate, you've
What
never
if
brought me
Alfie's
milk
got
before.
4 cartons of milk and he's topped up? He just bought it from the shop that morning.
Even worse. Imagine.
Now the milk's gonna go off.
Imagine he turned up and it was skinny milk, red milk, and you only drink the green.
Yeah, I never would drink the red.
Don't tell me you drink red milk, mate. That's disgusting. The day after the milk delivery, the milk delivery.
What the fuck is red milk, chat? And green milk? What the hell is that? Are they talking about like 2% in whole milk? Or like fat-free versus whole milk? What are they talking about?
On the 27th of December, the police actually questioned Marie, and they managed to find out that actually Sophie had been in Marie's shop on Saturday the 21st at around 3. And Marie said that when Sophie left the shop, she noticed that there was a man that was standing outside of a butcher's.
Skimmed fat-free?
Following. It looked like he was following Sophie home. And she's unable to identify who that man might have been.
Some sus behavior.
Maybe another
Seems
suspect.
like Sophie had someone stalking her for a few days before then. Like, it's like,
Yeah,
Sophie
what
a thot
suggested
or what?
it.
Why she have all these stalkers? Was Sophie the only one like not throwing ass or something? I'm so confused.
On the night someone just murders it, potentially planned?
Yeah, potentially a bit more
They were
planned.
just in there waiting on her ass.
Yeah, exactly. And at this point, you know, the police had over 54 suspects. At the start, right, they had 54. They managed to whittle it down to 10 suspects.
Ooh.
So, you know, they're narrowing it
Getting
down.
somewhere.
Ian Bailey, he's still in the top 10 though.
Yeah, he's still in the mixer.
He's in the mixer. He's looking like hot property right now.
Ian Bailey was actually writing a story about a lady called Yvonne Ungerer who lived at Free Castle's Head. Now, she had seen Sophie the Sunday before she had died and said that Sophie had had a strange experience. Now, this castle that Yvonne lives at is meant to be haunted by a female ghost, the White Lady.
What's interesting about this is that there is a real sort of like legend around this particular castle and this haunted ruin, right? Is that when you go there and if you see this white lady, in the hours that follow, you will die a violent death. Now, this sort of myth or legend, whatever you want to call it, considering Ian Bailey was writing a story about
Hey, Arch, you gotta get hip, bro. You gotta get hip. This is the Fellas Mystery. They have a channel where they do, like, they pretty much break down a bunch of, like, unsolved murders, solved cases, and things like that, kind of just bringing light to a lot of things that's happened, you know? And a lot of people love kind of watching these and binging them. I love, like, criminal, any type of, like, criminal mindset stuff or, like, where they just talk about cases and things like that. Like, I used to love watching the Unsolved Mystery stuff from BuzzFeed. But this is like Chip and Cal Freezy's version. It's fucking awesome, man. You really got to check it out. Trust me, they do a really good job at putting these videos together. And they have like a lot of jokes and stuff. Like, I kind of love how they like play these different roles. Like Chip is kind of the one who like just sarcastically answers all the stuff that like Cal Freezy says, and Cal Freezy is the one that really gives you like the true breakdown of like what things are, you know. And then they have like this vibe where it seems like they're doing it all from memory. Like, even though of course there's teleprompters and shit, but I love it, bro. This is fly.
And about the Yvonne Ungerer, is it a case of, did Ian Bailey want to make this more true than it already was?
That's not
Did he want to like live out this mystery or this myth? Did he want to make it seem more real than it actually is? Has he seen her or heard that she went there and then went, you know what, I'm going to make this myth, this legend, seem really real, and people are genuinely going to fear this castle if I do this?
Yes, well,
do you know what I mean?
In the community, it said that if any Irish person would have known that this had happened, they wouldn't have let her go home alone that night.
If the Irish person had known that she had visited and seen the white lady, they wouldn't have let her go home.
Yeah, that's how serious and how they take this myth, you would call it.
Because the Irish felt so strong about it,
fucking
it
weird.
sort of helped eliminate quite a few Irish people from it as well. And it sort of allowed people to focus more on those international, those expats that were living there. So, you know, it's a good bit of, it's an interesting thing just how much value people really do place on these legends and these myths. And, you know, Ian Bailey's a writer, right? He likes to fantasize. He likes to believe in these wild things.
Was he trying, like you said, was he trying to make his story look like it was real?
Yeah.
Sophie dies a violent death after she's seen the ghost, which he's writing a story about. And the whole idea is when you see the ghost, you die a violent death.
And it's safe to say it was violent.
Ian Bailey, if we're just touching him a little bit more here, a couple more details. So he's born in 1957, and he's actually from one of the greatest places on the planet, I might say. He's actually from Manchester.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So he's changed his name as well. So he's gone by Ian Bailey. It's actually Owen. His first name is actually Owen.
What?
Now people
So
say
what kind of
he
weird
changed
shit
his
was
name
he
to try and
doing
maybe
before?
fit in more with the Irish community.
Oh, because it was that Owen thing.
Well, he fantasized about being this Irish poet, right?
Exactly. So, bit strange. It's like he kind of wanted to live a different life than what he had.
Yeah.
He's born in England. He's moved to Cork in 1991.
Yeah. And he's just keen. He's keen to fit in. He's keen to have this image around him of this, very romantic, poet.
Yeah.
There's a real vision that he had here of himself living in Cork, in Skull, being this poet. Now,
but it's not all sunshine and rainbows, is it?
No, I mean, look, if that was all his background was, then, so be it. But he's not the nicest bloke, shall we say, because he was actually involved in several incidents of domestic violence against his partner, who goes by the name Jules Thomas. And she had actually been hospitalized really badly in 2001, where he actually ended up getting convicted of assault in the courts, which is, if you needed proof that the guy, wasn't morally the best bloke and it had maybe just been, wrong place, wrong time, he definitely did have a dark side to him for sure.
He's still a weirdo,
not only that,
what
but
the
here's
fuck?
a little list of something a psychiatrist actually said that he had. Personality constructed on narcissism,
rigidity. Come on, bro.
God knows,
rigidity? Mate, I don't even know. Rigidity. Psycho-rigidity. Look, we're going with that.
Yeah.
Violence, impulsiveness, egocentricity, and with an intolerance to frustration and a great need for recognition. Now, anybody that has watched the Netflix documentary, you'll see him, you'll hear him in interviews, and he loves talking to the camera. He loves the attention.
Mm-hmm.
He is desperate to talk about this whole thing. And that's a little bit weird considering how much stick he's gotten for it and how much of a prime suspect he is. But he just loved the attention.
It's like he wants to be a star, like the star of the show. He wants it to be he wants everything to revolve around him, even if it comes at the cost of him being the prime suspect of, such a horrible murder.
Yeah. So, I mean,
genius,
look, that list there was pretty extensive, but, just from hearing him talk and the way, he just gives you a creepy vibe. When I was watching it, I was there like, this guy just is so unsettling to listen to. And with everything that sort of lines up, it just makes you think this guy is just, there's something wrong with him.
Yeah, people described him as like a very large bloke. When he entered the room, it was a very strange atmosphere when he walked in. He would just, sometimes in the pub, just start belting out poems. So you're just sat there, you're enjoying a nice pint. You're enjoying it, You're talking to your mate about football. Then you've got Ian Bailey in the corner singing about sparrows and pigeons. Some people have said in the Netflix documentary that the poems are not the greatest.
Yes, no, there was definitely some talk about him being
I bet they were weird.
There was plenty of chat going around the town because Ian Bailey would say some pretty interesting things, shall we say, to a few members of the community. Now, I'm going to read a few of these things out to you, okay? This is what he said, okay? He said to an editor that by committing the murder, he reignited his career, okay? He said to friends that he had gone too far to them. So he's, he was talking about the murder. He said he's gone too far.
So he did
it. And then what he said to a local teenager was that I went up there and I smashed her brains in with a rock. Okay, Chip, does any of that come across as dark humor?
Not really. Because
that's exactly what Ian Bailey claimed. When he was questioned about these sort of things that he was, almost confessing to, right? He's gone and said, "Oh no, it was just dark humor." Like,
how do you even joke about shit like that? Especially something that's unsolved, where like the people don't even know like what's going on. He's over here joking like he did it, and he was a suspect. Like, how could you ever joke about something when you were like, that's how he did that shit. He did that shit, Chad.
I'm sorry, mate. What about by committing the murder, he reignited his career?
That's crazy. This is pretty compelling stuff. Like, there's multiple people here coming in with statements that Ian Bailey has confessed to them. You know, even a local teenager, like,
there's no reason for these guys to lie.
You know, there's no motive for them to come up and be like, yeah, unless the entire community is hatching a plan to frame Ian Bailey, which seems very unlikely.
Yeah, I mean, these are all just different accounts of supposed confessions that he had made. And he just denied them, claiming they were all dark humor.
Ian's friend has obviously been hearing all these rumors that are going round about Ian. Obviously, he's gone and thought about, you know, well, I should probably go around to Ian's, let him know everything that's being said. As a friend, you would do that.
Yeah.
So he's gone round to Ian's house, and Ian has straight away got extremely mad. And I'll quote here Bailey's exact phrase, as we'll call it. So he goes, "You fucker. You saw her in Spa the day before she was killed. You saw her tight ass and wanted to give her one. When you went to her house at 2 a.m, she ran away screaming because you scared her. You chased her, threw something at her head, and realized you went too far." So that is absolutely mental, but he's come up with that straight off the dome, straight in the spot.
By the way, this is, just so everyone's completely clear, this is Ian then switching things and blaming it on his mate.
Yeah.
And coming up with that entire story, like you said,
On
just
the
fresh
spot.
off the dome.
To me,
why do you have to talk about her cheeks though? Like, I'm confused. Why did it have to be a tight ass? I'd have been like, yo, you're weird for you just saying that her shit was tight. Like, why couldn't you just say like, oh, she was looking good and you wanted some? My nigga got hella descriptive on that.
that sounds like Ian Bailey knows exactly what went down.
Yeah.
He spun it around, and it's like he's retelling the story, but from his friend's perspective.
Yeah.
So
and blaming it on his mate.
That to me sounds like Ian Bailey's story.
Yeah.
And he's just saying his mate's done
it.
that.
And
yeah.
That whole thing, just like it all lines up. It all makes sense. Like, that could very well have been exactly what happened there.
Yeah. That like the words he's using, like it paints a very strange picture about this man.
The interesting bit here is that it says right at the beginning of the thing, it says, you saw her in Spa the day before she was killed. Now, do you remember what the Marie lady said?
Yes.
She saw Sophie leave and someone was following her down.
Yeah.
Now, this might have not been the exact same instant, but this could have happened a couple of times. And so...
And wasn't that just a day or two before the murder?
Yeah, it was.
Ooh.
So the story is, it's coming together a little bit like this right now, Chip. Like that.
Couple months after the murder, for the first time they've made serious progress, Ian Bailey has been arrested on the 10th of February 1997. And his partner, Jules, was also arrested.
It's important to know, Ian and Jules
Jules is like, fuck, bro, I didn't even know this nigga was like that.
From each other. So that obviously helps when it comes to, you know, coming up with a story together, making sure they both had everything aligned. Because what Jules said is not exactly what Ian said. Ian changed his story a few times. In fact, Jules said that they had been at a pub on the night and that they'd left at about 12:30. And on the way home, they stopped off at a certain place and they could see that the neighbor's lights, Alfie, remember Alfie? The milk that was delivered to Alfie?
Alfie and the milk.
Yeah, so they wanted to actually go over to Alfie, see if there was a little party going on there, a little afters, whatever it might be. But they said that they got just like a little bit of a bad feeling about the whole thing. So they ended up just going back to bed. And yeah, they went to sleep and that was that. Then, later, Jules actually says, hold on a second, I actually reckon my husband Ian got up in the middle of the night.
Ooh.
Oh, snitch! Ooh, if I was Ian, I'd be like, that bitch is next, dog.
What for though?
What would you be getting up in the middle of the night
Cocoa
for,
Pops
Ian?
and milk?
Well, that does slap as a midnight snack though. She didn't actually see Ian
Cocoa
until
Puffs are
9 a.m.
trash.
when he came back with coffee. Yeah, here you go, sweetheart. Rise and shine. I've just been I've just been writing some poetry. That's all I've been doing.
Can't trust these hoes, bro.
I haven't been
Can't
up to
trust
anything I shouldn't have been doing. I was just writing some poetry. That's it.
Yep, but here's your pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks.
I don't think they had Starbucks out there. Jules did also notice the scratch on his head. And she said that she was certain that that scratch wasn't actually there when they went to bed. So that little scratch on the top of his...
You would have to know that, especially if y'all were
forehead,
together. Like, she'd go in for a kiss, you'd have to have seen that.
I did say Cap.
You did say Cap. You did call Cap.
Unless, you know, he's woken up middle of the night and decided he wants to chop that turkey's head off at 5 a.m.
Bit of a rogue time to be doing that, I'll be honest. And what,
I'm
did he
not
also
sure.
cut the tree off at that time as well?
Turkey was probably sleeping as well.
Ian ends up changing his story. Shock.
Yeah.
He says that actually I did get up. No, I remember now. It's funny. I remember it now, yeah? All I did though, I just went down to the kitchen and just wrote some poetry, you know? Actually, no. And then I did go to my studio as well, which is 250 yards away from their house. So we left.
So he did leave the house.
So he did leave the house. And so he now claims he left the house, okay? Did he go and kill Sophie, then head to Calfada Bridge where he was seen by Marie, and then come home and give the coffee?
Which is crazy because when Marie Farrell said that she saw Ian Bailey on the bridge, he argued that it couldn't have been him at the time because he was asleep in Priory Cottage. And now he's saying he did leave the house to go and get coffee.
Right at the studio.
Go to the
right
studio.
at the studio.
He's writing poetry. Poetry, another word for murder.
I was like, wait, what?
So
Murder,
smart,
she wrote.
I was like, no, it's not.
Is it working?
No, it's not.
Murder, he wrote.
Jules actually, in her statement, came out and said, you know what? There's enough evidence to show that my husband could have done this murder.
Ooh, wow, she dubbed him in. I mean, if the whole...
Bro, Jules is a hoe,
is
bro.
saying that the evidence is really looking strong against
not
you,
like-
that is really not looking good, is it?
Imagine just your wife being like, it's not looking great for you, to be honest, mate. No. But look, regardless of all that, he ends up getting released because ultimately the issue was that it was all circumstantial evidence.
Yeah.
Meaning there was no hard evidence to prove that he did the murder. It was all just a he said, she said. It was too much chit chat and not enough. Bro, you did it.
On the 27th of January 1998, Ian Bailey is arrested for the second time, but he's released without charge. No charges were laid, as the Director of Public Prosecutions found there was just insufficient evidence, laid against Ian Bailey. There's nothing to really nick him for properly.
They arrested him in the hope that he would just confess.
Yeah,
that's
he'd come
what
forward
it was.
and he'd finally be like, I've had enough, I keep getting arrested here. I did it.
Yeah, I mean, loads of people were onto his case. They were saying, this is the guy that did it, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they arrested him just thinking, oh, do you know what? If we arrest him, he's just going to say, yeah, I did it. But this guy is so committed to it, to his innocence. That he didn't.
Then in 2007, the Association for the Truth About the Murder of Sophie was created. And then, this is where things start heating up, because in 2008, the French investigation started.
You don't want to mess with the
Yeah,
French.
you don't want to play around now, because they're trying to get him. They've got a strong feeling that Ian Bailey did all of this, and they feel like not enough is being done. Not enough action is being taken
in Ireland, because it's interesting because the way the Irish law works means that they couldn't really prosecute him due to the evidence. But the way the French law system works is it is very different, and they believe that we do have enough to prosecute him and go to trial against Ian Bailey. Unfortunately for the French, remember Marie Farrell? Farrell?
One of the strongest witnesses.
Well, the most important
witness. It's definitely the journalist ass, man. It's definitely the fucking journalist,
claims
bro.
to have seen
It's got
Ian Bailey.
There's nobody else it could be. It's literally nobody else.
Location at Calfada Bridge
3
at 3 a.m. Well, unfortunately for the French, she actually ended up coming out and saying, I take everything back. I'm recanting my statement. What I said about seeing him at 3 a.m. at the bridge, it was actually all a lie. And in fact, the Irish police forced me to identify that person as Ian Bailey.
Wow. And she was positive in her interview. She said she was positively certain that it's not Ian Bailey.
I'm not trusting
which
her,
is
bro.
really strange
Considering
because
that's not what she was saying.
A few years back, she was giving it the big one, saying it was him. Now, what she also did say a while back was that she was being intimidated by Ian Bailey. that he was constantly harassing
Here we
her
go.
and getting her to take back her statement, but she never did until later down the line when she does actually take it back. Now, loads of people are there like, are you just doing this because he's intimidated you and he's making you feel scared, whatever it might be? And she is adamant that that is not the case. That's not why she's doing it. She's doing it because she believes that the police forced her into it. Now, ultimately, we don't really know. There's no real way for us to know, was she intimidated into doing it, or did she just come out and want to say what the truth was?
Nah, I don't think it got nothing to do with the cops.
Ian has been adamant this entire time.
Back then, even now, shit, cops are just trash, bro. They're just trash. They try to go off their gut and like go off of like certain things in their head, and they're always fucking wrong. Always wrong until the last second. I think that it has something to do with him and his wife, and I think now in my head, I'm starting to think that the wife could have fucking did it, and she could be just trying, like, she could have thought that he was trying to smash or something like that, you know what I'm saying? And she could have just been jealous, because it seems like she's recanting, going back on statements and shit. I'm like, what? But I don't know, bro. It's wild to me how cases and stuff like this can go unsolved for so long.
Time that the police have been trying to stick it on him from the get-go.
Yep.
They have been saying they needed someone to nail it on, and they wanted to choose Ian. So they were trying to almost coerce the entire case to pin it on Ian himself.
For it to be him,
So by Marie coming out and saying, yeah, by the way, the police sort of made me identify it as you, that man on the bridge as you.
He arrived in the shop and he said that he knew I had seen him on the bridge, and that he wanted me to tell his solicitor that a Gardaí had made me make up the story about him.
How would he know?
And if I did that, he would leave me alone. And when I had no intentions of doing that, he made my life hell. And at one stage I thought, he is so big, he could kill me here in 2 minutes and nobody would know.
One of the ways that Marie said she was intimidated by Ian was she was actually in her shop, and Ian was in his car, and they've made eye contact, and Ian's looked at her and he's made the gesture of cutting his throat whilst looking at Marie. As to say, like, if you carry on doing the shit you're doing, like, I'm onto you, I know what you're doing. Things could get really bad and messy for you and your family, that kind of vibe. She's obviously quite worried there.
You would be, mate. If there was another guy really out there giving you the cutthroat gesture, I'd be slightly concerned.
Yeah, and despite even maybe the police can protect you, do you fully believe that? You never know.
He would make cutthroat gestures like this if he met me on the street, or he would do this. That type of intimidation went on for months and months.
But has she lied then? Because if she's now coming out and saying, by the way, he hasn't intimidated me into doing this, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so what about all that stuff that you claim that happened to you about, doing that sort of symbol, cutting the throat? Did you just lie about all that before? Like, now she's not even a credible witness anymore because she's been caught in a lie from a previous thing that she's been saying. It's either that or she has genuinely been intimidated into taking it back. So
she's a fucking liar.
She can't be believed. Nobody can, you can't trust what Marie's saying anymore because she's been going back and forth like this.
Yeah.
And it has absolutely scuppered.
Huge blow for the case.
Huge blow for the case.
One of the reasons why she actually didn't want to come forward at the time was she was with a man at 3 a.m.
She was having an affair.
That wasn't her husband, okay?
Yeah.
Now, when she's on the stand, the judges asked her and said, you need to name this man. And she's refused to name the man. And if you've seen in the Netflix documentary, she actually storms out of the court.
Yeah.
She does eventually get convinced and goes back in, and she gets back up on the stand, and the judge says, you need to name him. You're going to name him for this case. And she names a man, and it's another lie. So she's lied.
Wait, so she'd been caught in that lie?
On the stand, she's lied under oath. She just straight up lied. And yeah, like you said, the credibility of this witness is completely gone. And it's one of the only witnesses they had.
It was the best one they had. The French actually went ahead and issued a warrant for Ian Bailey's arrest in 2010. Now, the Irish Supreme Court ruled against extradition, meaning that he didn't have to be taken over to France to then be arrested and then go through trial, all that. And they actually, again, refused to extradite him in 2017.
Damn. I said nothing more is going to happen, so we'd ask you to disperse quietly and quickly. Is that all right?
In May
I love the accent, bro. That accent kind of fired. Okay.
2019, he was actually tried over in France. So he went to court. All three of the judges actually found Ian Bailey guilty. So remember, this is in a French court. and the Irish have their own way of dealing with this thing, and they didn't have enough evidence to take him to court in Ireland, but in France they believed they did, so they had this, entire trial. Now, Ian Bailey actually went as far as calling the entire proceeding just a massive farce. It was all just, one big mess to him. But in October 2020, so, years on after that, the Irish court ruled that Bailey cannot be extradited to France to serve a 25-year sentence. So if he ever steps foot in France, he's doing a 25-year stretch there.
We've even got a quote here from Ian Bailey that says, "If I went to England, I would be immediately arrested on foot of the European arrest warrant." So he can't even go to England. He is literally locked in Ireland, can't leave.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, now the police have gone to Ian Bailey's house. They've been given a list of a bunch of clothing items that they think that the murderer might have been wearing. So they've gone to Ian Bailey's house. They're looking for that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, they don't find anything. They go to Ian Bailey's studio, and at the back of the studio, what they do find, and this is really strange, is maybe like a massive scorched up pit of just stuff that Ian Bailey has burnt, set on fire. And in that fire pit, they even do find pieces of what could have been a coat. Now, obviously, everything is scorched. It's completely done. Yeah. So it's pretty much nothing there that they can use for evidence.
Mate, I'm just saying, look.
People are weird. Here we go with the fire pit shit.
A big, they've had a fire in the back of their house 3 days after this murder, right? And there was even a witness to say that they did see on the 26th of December, so 3 days after the murder had happened, that she saw a fire in that area.
Smoke coming out from the back of the studio.
My name is Louise Kennedy. I live in Lissacaha. I went for a walk on the 26th of December, St. Stephen's Day, and I saw a fire burning behind the studio.
So there's proof that there's happening, but my biggest thing is, right, so it's 3 days after. Wouldn't you do it as soon after, or is that just a bit too suspicious? Because it's like, okay, wait, why is there a fire going on the day after? Okay, or do they leave it a few days to make it seem not as suspicious? And maybe when he caught wind that the police were on...
It was exactly that. He caught wind that everybody was asking him hella questions and shit. And so he was like, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and burn this shit, huh?
To him, he was like,
burn this shit, man.
Crap.
Get this shit up out of here.
Stuff because they're actually onto me. So that... I was just a little bit worried, wondering why was it 3 days after, but I think, he probably just maybe panicked and thought, oh, actually they're onto me. I need to burn maybe some stuff that he had that was involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, if he did it the day after and the police are finding, small bits of what could have been a coat in this fire, the day after, maybe that's a little bit too bait.
Yeah.
But still, even 3 days after is still very suspicious.
He did it!
And again, they just didn't have any hard evidence. And that was ultimately the biggest reason why this is still a mystery, because just the complete lack of evidence that was going on. One interesting bit of info for you, Chip, is there was a woman who stayed at Ian Bailey's house on Christmas Day. So we're talking 2 days after.
2 days after he got accused for murder, he got some ass? What the fuck?
Yeah, years later, by the way, she said, I was in the house and I saw a coat in a bucket that I believed to be Ian Bailey's.
I remember, taking a shower. There was a large bucket in the shower. A dark coat soaked in there. Heavy material. I believe it was Ian's coat.
Red flags everywhere.
This nigga's got super cock, bro. Super cock. What? How does this even make sense? How was she this dumb to come on here and talk about this? I'm like, bro, so this nigga was being accused of murder, just beat a chick over the head, and now you're at the crib, and then you saw somebody's jacket, and a couple years later, you're like, hey, so I did go over there and get some dick a while ago, just so y'all know, and when I was there, he did have a jacket in a bucket. It was kind of weird. I didn't know if he was trying to dye it, maybe do a tie-dye thing, or if he just didn't want to pay to wash it. I really don't know. He didn't want to pay for the dry cleaning? What was this?
That is huge red flag. So you're telling me 2 days after the murder,
Yeah.
she's gone to stay at his house. She's in the bathroom. She sees a bucket on the floor, and in the bucket is the coat, like a coat.
A coat,
which is similar to what the murderer was,
supposedly wearing.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Connecting. Why has it taken so long for her to be interviewed? Surely.
Mate, she even says in this interview where she's talking about it, she said it took years for the police to even just get to her. This has got to be one of the first people that you go and chat to. When this happens, she was there 2 days after the murder in probably the prime suspect, the main suspect's house 2 days after the murder, and they didn't think, oh, let's just ask. Let's see what she has to say. Did she see anything in the house that might be a little suspect? Oh, I don't know. Maybe the coat that is believed to be what the murderer was wearing.
She was
One
lost
of
in
the
the
strange
sauce,
things
bro.
about Sophie's most recent trip to Cork was that when she was in Paris, she kept asking her friends and family to join her. Now, they said when she goes to Cork, she usually just goes alone. She enjoys to go alone. Maybe it's like an escape. And we've even got a quote here from her auntie saying, "It's a mystery because she usually liked to go there alone. And this time she asked practically everyone to go with her." Now, the friends and family, I think, were kind of thinking maybe she thought she was in some kind of danger.
Yeah, I wonder if before she actually went, she was like, oh yeah, last time I went, it was a bit creepy and I felt a little bit unsettled there. Does anyone fancy coming with me? And unfortunately for her, no one actually went.
Nobody went, Some of the family members were ill. Some of them had stuff to do.
They've come out now and said they do feel a little bit guilty about it, but ultimately there's nothing you can do. You know?
Now, Detective Freezy, this is your speciality here. Some may say palm reading. You're not the biggest fan, but anyway, someone actually did come around and read Sophie's palm and became pale and stating she had a very short lifeline. Yeah, pretty crazy.
Imagine that. Oh yeah, read my palm. Oh yeah, here mate. It said, what does it say, Chip? What's it saying? Oh no. Should we?
It's not good, brother.
Oh no.
Spend time with the family.
Okay, right.
A psychic actually also even came round and saw a photo of Sophie and said, and I'll quote this, "Ooh la la, this young woman will have a violent death when she is 40." Now, Sophie was 39, so if that's true, that's 1 year off. Like, that's pretty impressive.
Pretty good.
But what do you think about that? Because I know this is your field.
You know, it's a coincidence.
Is it coincidence?
Yeah,
is it cat? Could be.
I don't know. It has to be coincidence, bro. A forensic detective, noted that there was a full moon overhead on the night that this happened. And once again, to just go along with some
niggas is freaks, bro.
Weirder theories.
The supernatural, maybe?
The supernatural.
Yeah.
There was a full moon, and supposedly, right, Ian Bailey was known to howl at the moon. At the full moon. And, there's a lot of, what's the words, but like energies and things like that. People believe in a lot of things around the full moon, and some of that stuff is that two of the most energetically intensive moments of the lunar cycle are during the new moon and the full moon. While the new moon signifies new beginnings, the full moon signifies an ending or release from the current cycle. Now, is this a coincidence that Bailey howls at the full moon and he's thinking, right, someone must have their life ended, it's a full moon? Or is this all just one big coincidence and we're just getting baited into some waffle? Ian Bailey actually lost a libel case against 6 newspapers in 2003 because he claimed that the newspapers had sort of already painted him as the murderer, despite the fact that, there was no
evidence,
evidence for it and things like that. So
there was hella evidence.
Painted me.
It was all circumstantial, but it was hella evidence.
Seem like someone that I'm not, but he lost. So sorry.
Well,
Ian.
that's gone well.
Ian lost that pretty poorly. And what the judge actually said was, Mr. Bailey is a man who likes a certain amount of notoriety, and that he likes perhaps to be in the limelight. That he likes a bit of self-publicity, which is pretty safe to say. I mean, the guy loves the camera, right? And interestingly enough, he's not a big fan of the Netflix documentary that was done on him at all.
Not surprised there, to be honest.
He claims that it's not very objective and there is definitely like a bias slant to the whole thing. which is pretty interesting. I mean, to be fair, if I was him, I probably wouldn't like it either because, let's be honest, it paints him in a pretty bad light. But his whole defense, the Irish police just wanted to nail him. And they wanted it to make it seem like him. He was a bit of a weird one, an outcast, a strange bloke in the community, and he was an easy target to select to be the murderer of it. And so
boy was lost in the sauce, no cap.
Being set up by the police, really, that's his case. I don't know what you think about it, Chip.
Sounds like he's just completely ignoring the, eyewitness statements, the people saying.
Yeah, bro. It sounds to me like homie was a bum, bro. Sounds to me, homie definitely did it. Sounds to me like the cops just waste time, bro. Sounds to me like literally the cops do nothing with their fucking jobs. I'm tired of it. Tired of it. I guess it's lazy, bro. I mean, trying to understand like what the fuck they actually bring to the world, but it is what it is, I guess. I love you guys, man. Again, thank you so much for checking out that video with me, man. Again, don't forget, every Monday, all right? Make sure you're here for the Fellas Mysteries, okay? It's always a vibe, man, okay? Make sure you come on and watch it with me, but go over there and throw a thumbs up on that hoe, man, and make sure you let them know that JoeNoJoseph sent you. I love you guys so much. Peace.